Hi, my name is Hilal Wahyu Santoso. I'm from Management, Faculty Economic and Business. And this time, I want to share to you about one topic. Okay? The topic is Omnibus Law. Recently, Indonesia is hitting up over one common problem, namely the approval of Omnibus Law. The street full up with people who demonstrate to against this omnibus law, while social media was resisting the unilateral decision by taken House of Representatives. What happened in the midst of this chaos was sure to raise a controversial question on why our government insists on implementing this law and what is the real purpose of this omnibus law. Okay, privately, I have no doubt if the government is asked those questions. One of the answer is definitely one, to make Indonesia become a developed country. Talking about developed country, the World Bank, the country's wealth is divided into four levels. And by the way, Indonesia has just stepped up into level 3. But the problem here is going to the top level for a developing country is Indonesia like difficult, man. It's like being caught by Batman's trap, and it's true that many economists call this a middle income trap. And of course, one thing that is debated by people nowadays is about how a developing country can become a developed country. Maybe it turns out that we rarely realize it. If we look at the progress, there is a pattern. The pattern is that firstly, people's businesses started from agriculture, which only fulfill the basic needs of human life. After that, the next stage is when the needs in agriculture can be fulfilled by technology. And finally, people who work in factories can produce modern goods such as cars, pens, or cosmetics that are more expensive than agricultural products. Then, the third stage is technology and automation that penetrates the factory. So, workers can focus on how they can improve the quality of human resource through services such as banks, universities, or maybe hospitals. And where do you think we are now? Yes, big cities in Indonesia are in the middle of stage 2 and stage 3. Due to the last 10 years in Indonesia, our workforce is constantly expanding agriculture to manufacturing and up to services. If we look at the history of many developing countries, including our country, Indonesia, we can go up from level 1 to level 2 because developed countries employ workers for the production and export of industrial goods. And when many workers switch from agriculture to factories, they have higher income, which is make shopping as a hobby. Shopping makes local business grow up over and over again until everyone gets rich. For some reasons, it seems good for one side. But the shocking fact is it can be danger if we look from a global perspective. Because in a developing country like ours, competitive labor wage actually become a weapon. Because if our wage are too high, but our skills are just up to standard, then the developed countries prefer to employ workers for other countries whose wages are cheaper. Okay, this happened in Brazil and South Africa. When the workers are not around to give them job and the country isn't rich enough to stay on their own, that's when the country becomes like getting blown out of a stone to level up and become a high income country. Maybe it's never happened for a long time. I don't know. That is why this omnibus law is expected by government, being like Sapu Jagat regulation to make it easier for investor to create jobs for us. And maybe at first glance, it sounds good, right? But why are so many people dissatisfied and angry with this law? Okay, first we have to know that the process of drafting this omnibus law can be considered to be a normal process. I don't know. From the beginning, the drafting of this law didn't involve workers and laborers. Besides that, the text of the law itself has been repeatedly revised. After that, instead of providing access and clarity, the government actually shut itself down and confuses the public. These are just a few of the issues that are still being questioned by experts regarding to the approval of this omnibus law. Although on one side, it seems that this law will invite investors from many countries, but on the other side, they are also reluctant to give money to a country that doesn't care about the environment. In fact, there are foreign investors who are disappointed with this law. Previously, the World Bank also asked our government to revise this law because it was considered to have a negative impact on the environment. Even though investors come and interest and give money in our country, it doesn't mean that the unemployment problem in Indonesia will be resolved immediately. Because the biggest enemy of our economy is not lack of investment, but the corruption. The data shows that every year our level of investment continues to increase, but the workforce generated continues to decrease because the flow of money from those investors give benefit for those people who have power, and it's clearly detrimental people at the bottom. Most of this investment flows to the service sector, not manufacturing, not also agriculture. Meanwhile, the service sector is more use of technology and doesn't need to employ many people. Even so, it doesn't mean that investment in the service sector itself is bad. But the reality gives a fact that people don't have the opportunity to learn the modern skill needed, which can be eliminated by technology. It's irony. So, even though it is very complicated, I think Indonesia will not become a developed country because if the skill of its workers are not developed, and the sad fact that Indonesia's education at the world level is still at the level of concern. And that's our country's red report, which should be the focus to be resolved exactly. And also include creating golden generation who have smart, skilled and have competitive skills. In the end, the existence of the law is be our guide. But this isn't like a cooking guide. If you break it, you can find a new recipes. Not like that. This guide, like when we break the rules, then we will be punished. So don't let the contents become harmful to us. The omnibus law can be good or can be bad. But what is the main point is that the Indonesian people must continue to monitor it so that it doesn't become negative and end up being harm, because this is our spirit, Indonesia as a democratic country. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.